Hello all, welcome to your last lesson of the week. Here we're going to talk a little bit more about perimeter and area, but now we're going to talk about circular figures. So one thing, I am going to go through the vocabulary of circles pretty quickly. If you want to pause the video, I strongly encourage that if these words aren't familiar to you. If you have these definitions memorized from the last few years in math because they've been used so frequently, feel free to just listen as we go along. Again, if you want to write it down, please pause. So, quick vocabulary involving circles. Radius is the distance from the center of the circle to its edge, as drawn here. The diameter is the distance across the circle passing through the center like this. One important helpful thing to remember is that the diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. Now, there is a special name for the circumference, which is the perimeter of a circle. Every other shape, we just call it the perimeter. Circles are special. We call it the circumference. That formula is, you can either have pi times diameter. You will also remember diameter is 2 times the radius, so you might also see 2 radius pi. If for most of you remember, pi is an irrational number. It is approximately equal to 3.14. I say approximately, it's not actually equal to that. It is a continuous number that will never end and never repeat. But we will sometimes use approximations. The area of a circle, if you remember your formula, is pi times radius squared. So now that we've done a nice quick overview, let's look at a couple problems. So in number 1, it says the area of a circle is 2.25 pi centimeters squared. This is called leaving your answer in terms of pi. I in the book will occasionally tell you to do this. Leave it in terms of pi is great because it means that you don't need a calculator because you're not multiplying by 3.14. Also, it's more accurate since pi is not actually equal to 3.14. It's just kind of close to 3.14. So leave in terms of pi when you don't have a calculator. So since we know that the area is this, we know that, so again, whoops, sorry about that. We know that area is equal to 2.25 pi, which is equal to pi r squared. So then it asks us to find its radius, diameter, and circumference. So with the information that we're given, it's going to be very easy to find its radius first, since that is the variable that is used in that equation. And this is why it's helpful to leave things in terms of pi, is the first thing I'm going to do is just divide both sides by pi, since I want to get the radius by itself. And immediately, since there was a pi on both sides, I end up with 2.25 is equal to r squared. Great example of why leaving things in terms of pi is great. Now, I'm going to show you how to do this without a calculator because I want you to be able to do things without a calculator, and I want to encourage you to show your work. So here's a heads up, there's going to be problems where I will say you have to show all of your work, and there are some problems on the quiz where I say you may use a calculator for this. So make sure you're paying attention so that you don't lose points that you could have had just because you're not reading the instructions carefully. So here, we're going to take the square root. Now, 2.25 is probably not one that most of you have memorized as a fraction. But that's what I would do, is I am going to say, well, that's 2 1/4 as a mixed number. Now, 2 1/4 is 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9/4. And why would I turn it into a fraction? Well, 9 and 4 are perfect squares that we do know the value of. Square root of 9 is 3 over the square root of 4, which is 2. That's going to be incredibly helpful. So 3 over 2 is equal to r. And remember, for our final answer, you can write it as 1.5 if you like, but you definitely want to include centimeters. So our radius is 1.5 centimeters. The next thing it asks us to find is its diameter. So if d is equal to 2 times r, then in this case our diameter is equal to 2 times 1.5. So our diameter is 3 centimeters, and our circumference is equal to pi times diameter. So that's pi times 3. I would just leave this as 3 pi centimeters, especially since, as I said, I want you to not use a calculator on this. Leaving things in terms of pi is great. Now, we will have some that are a little bit trickier. So here, number 2, it says find the area of the shaded region. Now, what we're looking at here, whenever we're looking at a shaded region, I like to think about what is this area of a sort of the larger shape. I'm going to draw this in here. So this large shape minus the area that's taken away in the smaller unshaded area, like so. So I want to find the area here minus this. Now, the first thing I'm going to start with is say, well, this is a quarter of a circle. So 1/4 of pi r squared. Now, what is the r in this case? Well, it's this distance from the center to the outside, which is given to us as 4. So this is 1/4 times pi 4 squared, which is equal to 1/4 times pi times 16. 1/4 times 16, we end up with 4 pi, since it's a quarter of a circle. Now here, this is half a circle. But here we don't have our radius labeled. What we can say is that we know this is 4, so by a circle, this would also be 4. They're both the radius. So what this tells us in this picture is that the diameter is 4, so the radius is half of that, and 2. So these are all being subtracted, and then we'll simplify our final answer. So this would be 1/2 pi times 2 squared, which is 1/2 pi times 4. So 2 pi, 4 pi minus 2 pi. They both have the same letter here, so they are like terms. Pi is a letter, it's just in Greek, not in the English alphabet that we use. 4 pi minus 2 pi is 2 pi. You could also write 2 pi units squared. I'm just going to leave it like that. If you have questions, please let me know, and I will hopefully get back to you very quickly. If you have questions from the homework, don't forget to nominate it in the form attached to the assignment, and I'll make a video for the most nominated ones.